Welcome to Los Comics TV. I'm your host, Javier Hernandez, and it's May 2nd, and I think I haven't done a show since earlier in the week. Actually, I know I haven't done a show since earlier in the week. Kind of giving myself a break, and I'm thinking maybe the audience, I'm never, you're starting out doing your own YouTube channel. What's the, I'm sure everyone's got an opinion, what's the proper amount of videos and frequency and da-da-da. But I've had about, I think 20, 21 episodes in several weeks, which is not bad. I'm just, I just kind of pulled back a little bit. Maybe it's like, okay, maybe give those time to circulate, or I don't know, maybe people discover the channel, and then they won't be too behind. But at any rate, here we are again. Today, I'm going to be talking about black and white comic book art. Not just because that's what I do in my work, but I got a lot of samples here of black and white comic books that I want to share. Briefly, I can't, I got quite a few, so I can't go through all of them. But the reason I thought of doing this episode is, just so you know, I'm working on a new graphic novel. It's number 2 in the El Muerto series. So it's going to be about 110 pages, I think. You never know until you finish it. You may add a few pages or whatnot. But so I got about the first 30 pages done. And I'm going to put those together in like a comic, like call a floppy comic, because I want to have something out in the next couple of weeks, kind of to tide people over until the graphic novel's done. So, excuse me, I was just sitting. I just realized I didn't set my timers here. I have a timer here on my computer, just so I can keep track of how long I've been talking. So, I don't know, I already ate up a few minutes, so I'll just keep that in mind when I see the timer go down. Anyway, sorry. So, yeah, these are the first 10 pages. So, I think I did a little just like a 15-second video. Just kind of, I think I was just showing some on this, I had them on the computer screen, and I put a piece of music to it, just to kind of get people interested. And, I always put something out there, people know what I'm working on. But one of my friends, Bobby Hernandez, you might know him if you know me, and then you read about things I do on my social network and all that. He had mentioned, he really liked it. He really liked, he really liked what he saw. He's looking forward to the book, and he said he's not a big fan of black and white art normally, but he really liked these pages. So thank you for that, Bobby. But the point of that is, I told him, because we were talking just the other day on the phone. And I go, man, thank you for telling me that, because just a few days ago, as I was working on some stuff here on these pages, I had this thought, which I have all the time. I've been doing comics 22 years, and I always wonder, like, wow, graphic novels, majority of them are in color nowadays. Because of people work at home now, they can work on their computer, like the artists can create the comics, right there at their fingertips, all this technology. So the color is more accessible, and I do color comics. Let me digress here. But the color, it takes time to do all the pages, like especially 110 page book. And I got to go back and letter them all and such. But then I have to go back and color them all, which would take more time, right? But look, here's a comic I did, 6 years ago now, more comics. This was a collection, so there were a collection of 4-page stories. There's 3 stories in here, so I just collected them in this book. But look, I love to color. I color all these myself on the computer. I use Photoshop. A lot of people use Photoshop. Here's another character. So this was Dinosario. This is Felinus. This 1-page story, I drew it and colored it. My friend Rafael Navarro inked it. I'm sure you've heard me mention him before on this show. Here's another comic I did on my own, the Super 75ers. But color helps define the characters, helps set the setting, and add some emotional, context to the stories and such. So color is wonderful. I love working in color. And then because these were all 4-page stories, those are just a matter of do the art. Now I just got to color only 4 pages and then letter it. So originally I think I put these each up online, and then I just collected them in this book. Anyway, there's some background material. But I just didn't want to show you that. I mean, if you're familiar with me, you've probably seen my color work, but I just wanted to share it here. So it's not like, I'm opposed to color. That's not the point. I'm opposed to maybe coloring a 120-page graphic novel after I spent months and months and months drawing and inking it and everything. But there's an aesthetic value for me to the black and white storytelling aspects of these black and white pages. So probably come back to these afterwards. What I want to do right now is show you some black and white, some artists who sometimes not exclusively work black and white, but do a lot of black and white comic work. And I just want to share some of these. This is Gilbert Hernandez. Gilbert Hernandez's work of the brothers Hernandez, him and Jaime. They do Love and Rockets. So this was a solo book that Gilbert did in '92. So look at this black and white art, man. It's pretty nice. He's one of my favorite practitioners of black and white. Not just one of my favorite artists or storytellers, but I just love the way he colors, right, with black ink, because he's working on white paper. So he only has one color, basically black, which is black isn't all the colors combined. So maybe he's using hundreds of colors, but just the way he lays it out, and then like what we call in comics, they call spotting the black. Is look at the pieces of story here would just have solid black, like her sweater, the car, the rooftops. So he, as the artist, he decides obviously what's the best place to put the blacks, just the black shape, the black splotches of color. Sometimes it may call for it, right? Maybe if he's, I don't know, say you're drawing a policeman or a priest, right? They wear black, so they probably have to color their suits black. But and other times you just decide maybe I want the car to be black, so it stands out against. You got to be consistent, of course, but then the car stands out against all the white background. So anyway, this is just good example of black and white art. Like this shirt here, it's got these diagonal lines, which actually, as far away as you guys are from the camera to the paper, it probably looks gray, that's the effect he was going for. It's not so much that the character has like a diagonally striped shirt, because in this next scene, the stripes are vertical, straight up and down. So the point is, he wants to show that's a gray shirt or a medium colored shirt as opposed to white or black. So, of course, character silhouetted here in the front, all black, and then some of this furniture there. So, like, again, there's different reasons you use the, you figure out how you're gonna accentuate the art with the black. There's a lot of black in here, but look how clear all the characters are, right? Some wearing black dresses, pants, shirts, coats, whatever. Some have black hair, like, white hair. So yeah, I just love seeing how someone goes about and different textures or patterns. The little wavy lines in the hair, these little tiny little dashes all over the dress, all kinds of stuff. All right, so that's one sample. Here's another one of his books. This is from Dark Horse. Normally he's been published. Well, he is published by Fantagraphics for like the last 35, 38 years, whatever. But he's done a lot of these standalone graphic novels, not related to the characters from his Love and Rockets stuff. This has a little bit of a glare just because this paper is glossy. So I think if I angle it, you should not get the glare. But I mean, look at the use of the black here. And then like for the clouds or this night sky, because it's nighttime. The house is in shadow. If he makes the sky black, you're not going to see the house. So he just does these little striations, right, up in the sky to show that it's dark. Look at this. That is fantastic. And then look at this page. The guy's sweater, the pattern there. Again, he's just using a brush and black ink or a pen. And, he's differentiating everything here. The guy with all black clothes, and then her little black panties stand out there. Yeah, look at this. Wow. That's just beautiful there. Some gore. It's like people got their eyes ripped out here. But yeah, just more samples. Here's a fantastic practitioner, Osamu Tezuka. They call him in Japan, as a Japanese artist, the god of manga, believe it or not. Pioneering manga artist, prolific, influential. He started in the 50s, I think. Worked to the 67, and unfortunately died in I think 89 at, was barely 61 years old. But he had done, I don't know how many pages of comics he's done in his lifetime. It was like 20,000, 80,000. It's like might be 100,000. It's an insane amount. But this is some of my favorite work of his. It's called Blackjack. It's Tezuka is creator of, you've probably heard of Astro Boy, and then I was gonna say The Lion King, Kimba the White Lion, which you can look this up. I think I've mentioned it before. Disney adapted, without asking him or anything, into The Lion King. But I'll let you guys look into that. Anyway, Tezuka did this comic strip called Blackjack, and again, it's black and white. These books are from, I think, 2008, but I had read some earlier Blackjack. I think it was probably Viz. They've been doing manga for years, or translating manga here for the U.S. market. I think back into the 80s. So I remember seeing some of it, and other Japanese manga in black, and most of it's been black and white. So, like a Blackjack stands out, of course, with his black. He's a medical doctor. This is an interesting concept. Like a hitman for hire, but he's a medical doctor for hire. He's not licensed, but he's not a bad guy. But it's that whole ambiguity. Well, if you're a doctor, shouldn't you do it for free? Well, anyway, no doctor does it for free, especially if he's unlicensed. And then the Tezuka, big tangent rabbit hole here. Tezuka actually studied to be a medical doctor, so he actually had some type of medical degree, and then he decided at that point, once he got the degree, that he wanted to go into comics. Like, wow, we lucked out in comics, because I'm sure he would have been a great doctor. But so this, he makes this character who's it's almost like a miracle worker. So all the storylines, like most of the diseases are made up. Like, they're so bizarre. And then they hire Blackjack. They pay him. He comes over and then he cures them. So then Tezuka, because of his medical background experience and all his medical textbooks, he excels, right? Every time there's Blackjack operates, of course, he opens up the person, and yeah, Tezuka gives us some probably very accurate anatomical drawings. But anyway, you can look into him. But again, his black and white work, fantastic, and there's so much emotion that he puts in I think that was a big influence on me too. Anyway, I just really wanted to share the Blackjack story with you, so you can look it up. Maybe be interested in getting your own copies of this stuff. It's funny, really quick. I'm not going to go through these, but I've had these out recently. Came in the mail. 2 more Tezuka projects I never read: Alabaster Volume 1 and 2, and then Ode to Kirihito. This is going to take me a while. It's like 900 pages, 800 pages. I have not read it all. Like I said, it's just been sitting there. But I thought I'd just share that with you. Just going to get into more Tezuka and, more black and white. Of course, in Japan, a lot in manga they use what they call their screen tones. See this pattern here, and you see throughout the book anything that kind of looks like gray, or like a maybe even this little interesting pattern here. Anything that repeats or that would probably take way too much to draw, even with his assistants. They use these screen tone sheets where I don't think of it like, I don't know, think of it like a roll of Scotch tape, but you pull the tape out, it's got a pattern on it. So it's these large sheets, so big, and then there's hundreds of different patterns. So they pick the one they want to use, and then they put it. Let me try to find one that's got a. It's hard to tell because yeah, this is all hand done. I mean, these guys are so damn good and meticulous, you know. Like probably these, maybe. It's hard to say, but they'd put the sheet over this page of art, and then they would cut it. They would cut it because they could see through to the illustration paper, and then they'd peel off this section and then put it on the art right here. So that's how you get those patterns. Like, you know, this would, like I said, that's got to be a pattern, I'm thinking. Anyway, so these got to go in the to read pile, and these go into back in whatever shelf I pulled these off of. Of course, I talked about, you know, no one's surprised that I pulled out some Devilman comics. Go Nagai. So he's a guy I really got into when I started around the time I was starting El Muerto back in '98. I started seeing some of his stuff. So anyway, yeah, this guy, another master, is also responsible for Mazinger Z and Cutie Honey, but Devilman is probably up there with the Mazinger, I gotta say, if not more popular. But again, another master of black and white art. This again has a lot of gray tone in it. See all this gray right here, and then this pattern that was probably added in with a one of the screen tone sheets, Zipatone, sometimes they call it, depending on the brand. But otherwise, I mean, Go Nagai he's working in you know, heavy black, just a lot of black art. A lot of black expressive art. There's a couple of things I wanted to highlight here. Oh, look at that. It's great stuff. Great stuff. If some of you guys have seen Devilman Crybaby on Netflix, came out I think about a year or two ago. This is that animation. It's adapting the Devilman saga. It's like you know, all in all, it's five volumes. So some of the stuff, maybe look, there's the party where Akira first gets possessed by the demon. But look at this, all black, just with the figure showing through. I mean, I love that. So again, great practitioners of black and white art. It's not that, you know, it's not that, oh, it's not in color, so it's not going to be a good story, or it's not good art. Far from it. Far from it. Black and white art can be just as good as color art, or they can both be just as bad. It depends on who the artist is and what they're, you know, how good they are and how interesting the story is. So, and lastly, as far as stuff influence-wise, Steve Ditko, right? Amazing Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, The Creeper, Hawk and Dove, and then a ton of other stuff, and particularly his own creator-owned self-published work. Self-published meaning published with his friend and partner Robin Snyder. But you know, Ditko's black and white work, wow. Like there's no, in this book it's just black and white. There's no gray tones or anything, or gray washes. It's just a pure black and white storytelling. Look at, I mean, right? Look at all the effects he gets out of this. This guy's the Void, that's his name, and the smoke starts appearing. But look at the different ways he can show smoke. Oh, and he chooses to show it. Again, he's trying to be inventive. He's trying to be different. And he's well into his career at this point. This stuff is from like 2000. 99 or 2000. Some of it's reprinted from 69, but most of it's new stuff. So he's already in his, I think, I want to say 60s, in his 60s. Yeah, let that sink in for a while. And the man worked till about 90, 91 till he passed away. Oh, here's a Mr. A story, but this got some great black and white. And then the Ditko style is what we call like cartoony, which I don't know, I never know the right definition for it, or how to explain what I'm referring to as cartoony. But I think if you just look at it, he's not drawing. These aren't like photorealistic drawings like a lot of artists could do, or even very. It's very good art, but it's more exaggerated, more expressive. I think. It's not that it's better. I really am drawn to this type of art, much more so. But it's not knocking the other type of art. Look at this, man. This is fantastic. These little dots. He started doing these more in his later years, the way I remember it. And then because this is a bad guy, a crazy bad guy, this just gives me this weird sense, like it's almost like this guy hears this buzzing, and like they remind me of bugs. It's almost like here's like this buzzing in his head. But Ditko's done this pattern for other stuff too. It's not just on this crazy killer here, but I don't know. For me, it just accentuates that madness of the character. But again, depending on the page, there's some more black shadows on the clothes, kind of just again spotting the black. There's just a nice balance of spots of black throughout that panel here too. Here he goes. Mr. A's indoors, so it's darker in the house, and Mr. A was always represented as pure white anyway, so he really stands out. It's a great page, right? He's coming off the staircase, but so the black staircase and that weird buzzing pattern in the top there. So yeah, Ditko is someone I've looked at a lot. I mean, even his color comic work. But for the last 35 years, he's pretty much doing all these independent, self-published works, and he was just working pure black and white. Look at this one. Great stuff. Look at that pattern there again. So it's just being inventive with the tools you got. A brush, or in my case, a brush pen, or inking pens and such, whatever you're going to use, nibs. But it's up to you, the artist, how you're going to control that line, make your marks, spot your blacks, compose your pages. Look at that nice swab of black there under the eye. Anyway, like I said, this is interesting. I got to show this. There's no heavy blacks in it. If then is this story. Just this weird character design. Love it. It's all about patterns. Look at this. I'm just going to flip. Let's not worry about what the story is for a second. I just want to show you this art. And again, it's black and white because all the line work is done with the black pen. He just chose not to do any. That's probably like the thickest black right there. That word no. And here's something more in line with what he normally does with thick swabs of black here and there. So anyway. I could look at Ditko all day long. Was there anything else? There was another comic I actually wanted to share. Oh, yeah. So, it's not just the old comics from the old days. People have been doing black and white since, I'd say the 60s at least. And, when a lot of these artists like Wally Wood and Ditko and such, they would just, and of course the underground comic artists, Robert Crumb and all those guys, would start working in black and white. But so here's a friend of mine, Michael Nino. This book's from I don't know what year it is, 2012 I think. 2012. I think I knew him before that, but yeah, people still work in black and white. And Michael's an exceptional practitioner of cartooning, and he's got a great sense of spotting his blacks. He loves working that brush, you can tell. This beautiful stuff. Those thick slabs of black. So crazy. Yeah, black and white art is alive and well. Even today, you still see black and white art. Everyone's gonna have their own reasons, you know. I didn't ask Michael, but could be he self-publishes. I know he loves color. I've seen a lot of his color work, color to cover. Maybe they want to do the whole coloring process. Maybe it looks like he wanted to just do it in black and white, though. I mean, if you're just going to print in black and white, you know that going in, so you're going to have a heavier use of black, I think. Otherwise, you can fill in some of the other areas with color. So, interview with Tom Scioli here in this. This is great. So there we go. So let's get to the modern era. I got a lot of nerve going from Gilbert Hernandez, Nagai, Osamu Tezuka, Steve Ditko, and like, okay, now here's how you do black and white. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just showing you the stuff that's gone on before. You know, why people use black and white, how they use it, how that's influenced me, and my graphic novel. I know I've shared this over the life of the show. This is this is my black and white work. At least, you know, a recent one. Again, it's just spotting the blacks. You know, when you do an interior, it's great because the inside of the house is really dark, and you got the light showing through. So cartoonists, we love drawing shadows, right? Especially when we can stretch them out and kind of make them look a little weird. Right, very heavy shadow on his face. So there's something very I don't know, I just, you know, just love wielding my pen, you know, the Pentel pocket brush pen, and just, you know, oh, am I gonna mess this up? Because I already scanned this page. I'm not gonna mess it up. It's like, now the original art, if someone ever buys it, they'll say, hey, there's some extra black lines on here. I shouldn't fill them in though. But yeah, there's something about mark making, like they call it, whatever, drawing, making art. But I'm talking about just using black. You know, for the real thin lines here, I use this Micron pen. And sometimes I use this pen. It's got it's almost like using a steel nib, but this is a plastic nib. And then, you know, sometimes whiteout. But I'm creating the artwork, the visual, just with black ink, and using the white of the paper to handle the white. Right? When I was going to Guy, reversed out silhouettes, Frank Miller. I mean, a lot of people do these. I'm not doing anything new here. What's new is that it's my idea, right? And like, I'm doing my comic, just like you or anybody else. You're doing your thing, so that's the new thing about it. And that makes it awesome because it's just you. This could only come from me, just like those other books could only come from those creators. So yeah, what bouncing back between the new artwork and then the previous book. But again, it's just to share. If you haven't seen this book, not trying to sell it to you, but it is on my website. But that's all right. I just want to share black and white artwork with you and why I love it. You know, one thing that people have told me in my work, in El Muerto or the other comics I've done, is this is what they tell me. They say, you know, you get a lot of emotional content out of the characters, which any artist, you know, has to. I think, but you know, in thinking of black and white and color, I think by not having color in at least the El Muerto saga, it kind of forces me, or I'm conscious of, you know, because I don't have that extra layer of color to add, you know, some emotional cues to the scene, whatever. It's just all in the art and the body language, the facial expressions. So that's something I really strive for. You know, it's funny, like when I'm drawing the comic, it's almost like how should I put it? It's like it's almost like I'm really tense, like and I'm trying to, like, you know, you want to sweat your emotion onto the page, or at least through the hand and through the pen into the drawings, if that makes any sense. I just think it's important that the characters are alive. And that's what fascinates me about any story. When it's a cartoon, a movie, but especially a comic, because they're not, comic images are static. He's not moving. He's not animated, right? There's no actress doing her voice. So all you can rely on as the reader, me too as the reader, when I read a comic, all I can rely on is what I'm reading, what I'm looking at, and then just the feeling I'm getting from everything. The situation, the characters, what they're saying, how they're saying it. But it's kind of depending on the viewer, the reader, how you're interpreting it. And I just find that whole process fascinating. So when I hear from people, complimentary things like, yeah, these stories really spoke to me, or, she really spoke to me, Catalina, or this character. One of my friends told me, my good friend Rhodey, I did not like this guy. So I did not like him. I go, good, I did my job, because he's a bad guy, and he's supposed to be horrible. And when they like somebody, that's good too. Like, okay, good, I like that character too. I like the bad guys too. But, we gotta love them to hate them. So anyway, this is a night scene, so there's a lot of black, right? A lot of black in the sky, and but you don't want to drench like the grass in black in the trees, because then you're gonna lose all the characters, unless it's a specific element in the story, right? Maybe it's a horror story or sequence, right? And someone's out in the forest being hunted by somebody, so maybe they would all be more in heavy shadow. Until maybe you come across some moonlight or something. But again, that's up to you as the artist, how much you want to dim the lights, or or put them up high. It's like they say, when you're doing your own comic, especially if you're the single creator, it's just you doing the art and or the coloring, or in this case the black and white. I mean, you're the costume designer, you're the casting agent, right? You got to cast the characters, the actors, you got to design the sets, and you got to do your lighting, right? I'm in charge of the lighting. Here, Diego's inside the circus, his cabin, his trailer, whatever. So it's lit until he picks up the candle and blows it out, and then it's dark, except for the little wisp of smoke. But yeah, that's what black and white comic art is to me, and how I do it, what I was influenced by, what I look at to get inspiration and just to enjoy. You always hear us artists say that, I'm looking at this for inspiration and or to study it, which is true. But when we're reading this stuff, I'm sure everybody else is. We're sucked into it, man. We're lost in that story. For me, you got to be lost in that story first, and then equally you can appreciate what someone has done. Like those other books I showed you, like, oh, I like how this person composes his figures, or I like how he shows an action scene, whatever it is, right? So I got to be conscious of that as the maker of this stuff, for what you folks are going to be reading eventually. It's got to do a good job, got to make the art expressive. You got to tell a story. Now, first and foremost, you got to tell a story. Like from page 1 to the end of the book, you've got to have had a story flowing towards an end, right? Whether it's a funny story, a scary story, a historical piece, a biographical piece, absurdist comedy, whatever it is, you want to keep the reader's attention throughout the whole book, and especially asking them to stick around for 120 pages, whatever this one is. So, yeah, all this stuff here. So what's the other thing about black and white comic pages? It's like, like this one, right? It's all black and white. It looks the same as the final printed book, as opposed to if I color this for the comic, it's the artwork's black and white, the original artwork, but then in the final comic it'd be in color. I kind of like that. I don't know why, but I like that the printed page is pretty much representational of the actual page. Let's see, am I done toot my own horn here? Again, we're just studying, we're sharing, we're learning. Yeah, it's got a lot of black in it here on these 2 pages. You know, one day it could be possible. It's happened with other series. A publisher wants to pick up my books, make a deal with me and print them through their imprint. Maybe they'll want to color it, right? Maybe, I'm totally open to that. Somebody wants to go through and color it, give them some guidelines and such. But yeah, I'm open to seeing this stuff in color. But because I'm producing it in black and white, printing my books black and white, I got to make sure it stands up just on its own, right? The way it is this way in black and white. So do I succeed every book, or do I succeed on every page, or do I succeed on some panels and others? That's up to you to decide. I could have a couple of ideas, but I'm not going to share them here, right? No need to rip myself open and confess every everything I think I didn't do right, or conversely, I'm going to sit there and brag about every panel I think is super awesome. This one actually, I will say, I was very happy with how it came out. I might even dare say that's an awesome page. You can disagree, put a comment in the section on the video if you want. Doesn't matter to me. I like it. But yeah, I'm not going to go through every page and tell that. I'm much too humble for that. So those are black and white comics. At least the way I produce these. So here's I like these pages just drenched in black, right? It's a flashback scene. So we'll just kind of leave them. I don't know how much of it is in camera range, but leave it at that. And anyway, so thanks everybody once again. Thanks for joining in. If you're someone who was every other day looking for a video, sorry if you didn't get your fix, but you're getting it here. And of course, I will be back with more videos. I do promise. So again, subscribe if you're brand new to this, or if you've been watching but haven't subscribed. Please subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere here. And whoa, what was that? Oh, hang on. Man, it didn't scare me, but it startled me. Anyway, it was the countdown timer on my computer. I forgot to put the volume down. But now I know for sure, boom, 30 minutes, 30, whatever it was, 35 minutes. Let's stop it, which I'm at the end of it here. So subscribe to this channel if you could. Please leave comments below. Tell me about what's your favorite black and white comics, or your favorite artist who works in black and white. Feel free to share this on your social networks, your Facebook, Instagram, your Twitter. Tell people, hey, check out this guy's channel. It's pretty cool. If you hate it, I guess you can go on there and tell people, oh, this channel is horrible. But at that point, don't bother. Just, I'm sure you got other stuff to do. Anyway, so thanks a lot. And we will see you on the next episode of Los Comics TV.